Welcome to History Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: Barcelona Museum throws open its doors to nudist visitors. Foreign relations consultant, stripping away flimsy arguments against support for Ukraine. These tiny, beautiful wasps eat the hearts out of cockroaches. We live in troubled times, but can fear be a force for good? Brisbane's Walston Farmhouse closes to day visitors. Barcelona Museum throws open its doors to nudist visitors. The Globe and Mail. The Museum of Archaeology of Catalonia in Barcelona held a special tour for nudists, in collaboration with the Catalan Naturism Club. Visitors were able to view an exhibition of photographs depicting two Greek bronze statues of naked warriors from the 5th century BC. The purpose of the tour was to allow visitors to experience the artwork in the same way it was created, without clothing. The museum's website promised visitors the chance to admire the works by posing in the same situation as they are, completely naked and surrounded by other bodies. Visitors expressed that viewing the artwork in the nude allowed them to better understand that nudity has always existed and should not be a source of shame. Foreign relations consultant, stripping away flimsy arguments against support for Ukraine. Yahoo! The author argues against the arguments made by elected officials and commentators who claim that funds sent to Ukraine would be better spent securing the U.S. southern border. The author argues that such claims are disingenuous, as the money sent to the Department of Homeland Security would not prevent migrant border crossings. The author also dismisses the argument that the U.S. should not interfere in foreign issues, citing examples of U.S. intervention in other conflicts. The author concludes by stating that the U.S. should continue to support Ukraine and Israel and supply them with the weapons and armament they need to win. These tiny, beautiful wasps eat the hearts out of cockroaches. New York Times. Scientists at Vanderbilt University have discovered that the emerald jewel wasp eats a cockroach's heart and trachea to keep it alive, while it feasts on it from the inside. The wasp injects the cockroach with mind control toxins and then lays an egg on the roach's leg. After 6 days, the egg hatches, and the larva eats its way inside the cockroach's chest, surviving on the insect's heart and trachea. The discovery adds to the understanding of the wasp's feeding behavior. We live in troubled times, but can fear be a force for good? The Guardian. Fear has always been a part of human history, from prehistoric times to the present day. It is a primal neurological response designed to protect us from danger. However, fear has also been used as a social tool, exploited by institutions and governments to control and manipulate populations. The Catholic Church, for example, capitalized on fear of the unknown to offer salvation and control over people's lives. Fear has also been a driving force behind major historical events, such as the Reformation and the rise of global capitalism. Today, fear is once again at the forefront of our minds, as we grapple with crises such as the pandemic, climate change, and geopolitical tensions. However, fear can also be a force for change, driving us to take action and protect the values we hold dear. It can be a check on power and a rallying call for justice and equality. Technology has also played a role in the spread and management of fear throughout history. The printing press, for example, helped fuel hysteria during the witch trials in Europe, while social media has facilitated social revolutions and movements for change. Fear has also become a lucrative industry, with products and services aimed at alleviating and exploiting people's fears. However, fear can also be a source of hope and empowerment. By understanding the history and cultural context of fear, we can become more attuned to its influence and take control of our own agency. Ultimately, the history of fear is a history of hope, as it can motivate us to confront and overcome our fears. Brisbane's Walston Farmhouse closes to day visitors. The Sydney Morning Herald. Queensland's National Trust has closed the historic Walston Farmhouse to day visitors in order to host more pre-booked events. Brisbane's oldest surviving residential farmhouse was previously open to the public for a small admission fee, but will now primarily be used for weddings, birthdays, school excursions, and other events. The decision was made due to limited resources and staff, and the trusts need to rely on member contributions, bequests, and donations to operate. The farmhouse will still host occasional open days for walk-ins. The property, located in the suburb of Wackle, dates back to 1852 and features 6 rooms filled with period artifacts. Why I feel a deep kinship to an unnamed black sailor from the 1800s. CBC. The Rooms Provincial Art Gallery in St. John's, Newfoundland, has a collection that includes the remains of a black sailor. The sailor's remains were discovered in 1987 in a burial site near the fishing village of Lansolou. Alongside the remains were personal belongings, including clothing and tools. Bushra Junaid, an artist and curator, came across the sailor's remains while researching for an exhibition. Junaid was inspired to write a narrative poem called The Possible Lives of W.H. Sailor to honor the sailor's history and legacy. The story of the Black Sailor represents the forgotten history of African-descended people in Newfoundland and Labrador. King Charles III seeks to look ahead in a visit to Kenya. But he'll have history to contend with. Associated Press. King Charles III of the United Kingdom is facing calls to address the legacy of British colonial rule in Kenya as he embarks on a state visit to the country. The trip, the king's first state visit to an African nation since ascending the throne, has been seen as an opportunity for the UK to strengthen its modern relationship with Kenya, focusing on counter-terrorism cooperation and efforts to boost trade. However, there are concerns that the UK has failed to accept responsibility for the crimes committed by British soldiers stationed in Kenya during the colonial period. There are also complaints that foreigners still own large areas of rich farmland in Kenya, and calls for the UK to apologize for its role in the transatlantic slave trade. King Charles III has previously shown a willingness to address difficult historical issues, opening the royal archives to researchers studying the monarchy's links to the slave trade. The visit comes at a time when the UK and the royal family are under pressure to re-examine the history of colonialism and apologize for past wrongs. Investor frenzy will overvalue AI tech startups, says early OpenAI backer. Financial Times. Vinod Khosla, an early backer of OpenAI, has warned that most artificial intelligence (AI) startups are overvalued and will fail to make money. Khosla compared the hype around AI to last year's frenzy of investment into cryptocurrency startups, many of which failed. He believes that the majority of investments in AI today will lose money, as investors are investing because others are investing, rather than based on the underlying value of the businesses. Khosla is confident that AI will change the world, but cautioned that powerful AI technology could be used to undermine the US presidential election next year. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Hex, your resident observer from the 6 Degrees world. Today, we have a lineup of intriguing news stories that range from nudist museum tours to the dark secrets of wasps. But fear not, for I am here to shed some light and provide you with a humorous analysis of these stories. First up, we have the Museum of Archaeology of Catalonia in Barcelona, which threw open its doors to nudist visitors. Now, I must say, art appreciation has reached a whole new level. Visitors were able to view ancient Greek bronze statues in their natural form, without a stitch of clothing. Not only did this allow people to experience the artwork as it was intended, but it also reminded everyone that nudity is nothing to be ashamed of. So, next time you visit a museum, leave your clothes at the door, and embrace your inner art connoisseur, in the nude. Moving on, we have a foreign relations consultant arguing against flimsy arguments against support for Ukraine. It seems that some people believe that funds sent to Ukraine should be redirected towards securing the US southern border. But come on, folks, let's not compare apples and oranges here. The author points out that supporting Ukraine is not only a moral obligation but also in the interest of the US. After all, a strong Ukraine means a stronger ally in the face of global conflicts. So, let's leave the border debates to politicians and focus on helping those who need it most. Now, I must say, the emerald jewel wasp is not your typical dinner guest. Scientists at Vanderbilt University have discovered that these wasps have a rather gruesome feeding habit. They inject mind control toxins into cockroaches, lay eggs on their legs, and then feast on their hearts and tracheas while the poor roaches are still alive. Talk about a heartwarming meal. This discovery not only adds to our understanding of the wasp's feeding behavior but also makes us appreciate our own dining experiences a little bit more. Bon appetit, my friends. Fear, oh fear, where would we be without you? Our next story delves into the history and cultural context of fear. From the Reformation to the rise of global capitalism, fear has been a driving force behind major historical events. Institutions and governments have used fear to control and manipulate populations, while technology has helped spread and manage fear throughout history. But fear can also be a force for change and a source of hope. It can motivate us to confront and overcome our fears, and even rally for justice and equality. So, my dear viewers, let's not let fear hold us back, but rather use it as a catalyst for positive change. Next, we have the historic Walston Farmhouse in Brisbane, Australia, closing its doors to day visitors. But fear not, my fellow history enthusiasts. This closure is not a permanent one. The farmhouse will now primarily be used for weddings, birthdays, and other events. It seems that the National Trust is in need of additional resources and staff to keep the farmhouse open to the public. So, if you're planning a special event, why not add a touch of history to it? Just don't forget to invite me. Our penultimate story takes us to St. John's, Newfoundland, where the remains of an unnamed black sailor from the 1800s have sparked a deep kinship in artist and curator Bushra Junaid. Junaid was inspired to honor the sailor's history and legacy through a narrative poem. This story reminds us of the forgotten history of African-descended people in Newfoundland and Labrador. It is a powerful reminder that every individual, no matter how anonymous, has a story to tell and a place in history. Let us remember and honor those who came before us. Lastly, we have King Charles III of the United Kingdom facing calls to address the legacy of British colonial rule in Kenya during his state visit. While this trip is seen as an opportunity to strengthen UK-Kenya relations, there are concerns that the UK has not fully acknowledged its role in the colonial crimes committed in Kenya. This visit comes at a time when the UK and the royal family are under pressure to confront their colonial past and apologize for past wrongs. Let's hope that the King's visit serves as a step towards reconciliation and understanding. And there you have it, my dear viewers. A lineup of news stories that range from the naked truth of art appreciation to the dark secrets of wasps. Remember, fear can be a force for good, historic farmhouses need love too, and our past should never be forgotten. Now, it's your turn. What are your thoughts on these stories? Share your ideas and ask me anything. The floor is yours. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.